writing session that you have seem to feel like a battle in your mind? One where you can't figure out where to start or what to write first? If so, you might be experiencing decision fatigue. In today's video, we're talking about what decision fatigue is, how it shows up in your writing process, and why it hits writers so hard, and the practical steps you can take right now to make your writing time a lot more productive. Hey y'all, welcome to today's Live with Lisa. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and I create videos that help you learn how to write and live God's way. If you want to honor God with both your life and your writing, this is the place for you. We also go live in partnership with our Given Purpose Ministries, which is an amazing ministry that helps you grow in your walk with God. So make sure you follow them as well. So when we talk about decision fatigue or analysis paralysis, whatever it is that you want to call it, it is that feeling of being overwhelmed by all the different decisions that you feel like you need to make in the writing process. So let's talk about what it looks like and how we dismantle it. First of all, let's talk about some signs that you might be dealing with decision fatigue in your writing. What does it look like? First of all, decision fatigue can look like you are going down what I call the research rabbit hole, which means you are getting caught up in the research part of the writing process. Maybe you're trying to brainstorm, you're trying to come up with ideas, you're trying to figure out even what to do first in terms of how to write a book. And you just start looking on Google or AI or whatever your favorite tool of choice is. And before you know it, it's hours or maybe even days or weeks later, and you feel like you haven't made any progress. That is what decision fatigue can look like. It's just getting lost in all of the information that's out there. And that it happens to a lot of writers. It is so common and so easy for us to get caught up in this day and time. And so I want to point you to a live stream that I did. I believe it was actually just last week, talking about how we can stay busy as writers and think we're making progress. And so I go in depth in that live stream about this very same issue. So I want to encourage you to check that out. I will have the link in the description below for you to see that. And it is the video called The Biggest Lie Kingdom Writers Tell Themselves About Progress. And I go through some details about how to deal with avoiding that just basic busyness that we deal with as writers sometimes, where we're doing all these things, but we're not really moving forward. And that's what that can look like. That can be a sign that you are dealing with decision fatigue, when you are active and productive, but you're not really making progress forward and not moving forward consistently. Another sign you might be dealing with decision fatigue is if you're spending a lot of time staring at a blank document or a blank piece of paper, if you are like to handwrite your work. And many of us have gone through that as well. It is so common for us as writers to look at a blank screen and just go blank. The screen is blank and our mind is blank too. How many of us have been there? And that's okay for that to happen every so often, but we need to be paying attention as writers if it's happening all the time. If every time you're sitting down to write, every writing session you have, every time you are trying to get some work done, you're finding that blank moment, your mind is blank and the screen is blank too, that's a problem. And it probably is because you're experiencing decision fatigue as well, because you're just looking at the screen and you don't know what to do first. Many times when I talk to writers that experience this, they have a lot of thoughts going on in their mind. They have a lot of ideas, a lot of places they want to go, but they're not sure what to do first. And that is what decision fatigue can look like. So if that's you, if you've been staring at that blank screen over and over again as you've tried to write, that's a sign you're probably dealing with this issue. Another way you know that you could be dealing with decision fatigue or analysis paralysis is if you constantly second guess yourself, if you go back and forth between what type of chapter you want to write, what you want the characters to do, what the theme is, whether you want to end the chapter here or somewhere else. Do you need to include that story? Should you be writing now or should you be editing? Going back and forth between drafting and editing. I'm feeling tired just talking about it, right? But if you're going through that loop in your mind, if you're going through that cycle of your thoughts just spiraling and you're just going in circles, that's probably a sign you have decision fatigue as well, because it can feel overwhelming like that. It can feel like you can't seem to make a decision, right? You go back and forth between different decisions in the writing process, whether you're dealing with brainstorming, drafting, or editing, or maybe you've gotten through the editing process and you're not sure if you should edit again. Whatever it looks like, if you're having trouble making decisions consistently over time, again, we're not talking about just getting stuck here or there for a moment, but if there is a consistent pattern of you being stuck in your writing journey, that's something that needs to be addressed and we need to move forward with it. So go ahead and let me know in the comments if you are dealing with these particular issues or if any of this sounds familiar. I would love to hear from you. All right, Tori says it is a process even in the progress. Woo! Yes, so good, Tori. And that can be how it is for a lot of us. We are dealing with the process of writing, but we can get stuck in actually making progression and really moving forward. And so that's why I'm addressing these mindsets that we deal with and why we need to make sure that we're on the lookout for things like that, because there are solutions to these issues, which we're going to get into today. So the next thing I want to talk about today about decision fatigue and analysis paralysis in particular is what causes it. How do we've talked about what it looks like when we're dealing with it, but now let's talk about what causes it. How do we know, where this is coming from? The first cause of decision fatigue is a huge one. I think it might be the biggest one actually, and that is that we have too many options. There are too many options. We have so much information at our fingertips today. And I've talked about this on Live with Lisa before. It has never been easier to self-publish your book. It has never been easier to get resources and help for you to do that. But at the same time, there is an abundance of resources, and it can be so hard to determine the good from the not so good. And a lot of writers get stuck there. They, again, start searching on Google, start looking on AI, start using different research tools. They start looking at, you have podcasts and courses and YouTube videos and all these different resources at your fingertips. It can be hard to determine what is the right option for you. And if we're not careful, a lot of times they can all start to feel the same. And so we want to be careful about that and recognize when that starts happening, when it starts creeping in, and then just take steps to address it. It doesn't mean that we just give up and throw up our hands, but a lot of writers do end up doing that because they don't know what to do. So it's just a sign that we need to be watching for. We recognize that because there are so many different options available, we have to be intentional about how we decide which choices we're going to take advantage of, which options, which resources we're going to take advantage of. Another thing that causes decision fatigue is lack of a clear plan. When you don't have a strategy, when you don't have any idea how to approach the writing process, when you don't have a clear set of steps for you to follow, it can make the whole process overwhelming, and it can make it difficult for us to move forward with writing because, again, we don't know where to start. We have all these resources, we have all these people with ideas and opinions, and it can be hard to really determine which way we should go. And so a lot of times it can be so much easier when we have a clear plan in place, but if we don't have that plan, then we get overwhelmed by all of the options that we do have. So a lot of times these two things work together. We have too many options and we don't have a clear path ahead that will work right well for us. And then the last thing I believe that can cause decision fatigue and analysis paralysis is the fear of being wrong all the time. A lot of us are, may deal with perfectionism. I know I certainly have at different times in my life. And so it can make it really difficult to make decisions because you're so concerned about doing the right thing. You're concerned about losing time and choosing the wrong resource or trying to DIY it on your own and wasting time making mistakes with that. You're worried about losing money, spending money on the wrong resource, the wrong coach, the wrong course, the wrong resource, and having that money and have nothing to show for it. You're concerned about letting people down, even letting yourself down many times. We may be concerned about having this dream that we've had that God has put in our hearts to write a book and not being able to follow through on that. We're concerned about the disappointment and the fear of failure. All these different fears can be driving us. And that can make it hard for us to really make clear decisions that we can be confident in. So all these different things can be working against us in our writing process. The question is, what do we do? How do we move forward? And what do we do to eliminate and overcome decision fatigue and analysis paralysis? So I have some great options for you and some great advice for you that I think will be really helpful in helping you move forward. This is advice that I have used in my own writing process and that I've talked to other writers about over the years. And I believe it will be helpful for you as well. The first step for us as kingdom writers in particular is we need to focus on obeying God. We need to focus on obeying God. Psalm 37, verse 23 says, "The steps of a man are established by the Lord when he delights in his way." And so we can trust based on that scripture that God is leading us in a certain direction. He is going to guide us to where he wants us to go. We don't have to be concerned about getting everything perfectly right all the time, because even when we make mistakes, he is going to be right there alongside us and lead us in the way that we need to go. We just need to make sure that we're checking in with him, that we are inviting him into our process, and that we are aligning with him and with his word. And so it's so important that we are intentional about bringing God into our process. Many times as writers and just people in general, just children of God, we want all the answers to everything right away. We want to have all the details, all the information, all of the steps right at the beginning. But that's not how God works. Many times he will give us the first step or maybe the second or third, and then we have to trust him as we step out in faith. And I've certainly been there in my own life. Maybe many of you have been there as well. And so a lot of times I find in my journey that if I try to take too many steps or I try to figure out the end of the story before I've obeyed what he told me to do, I get overwhelmed. And I have a hard time making decisions and moving forward because I'm trying too hard to see the end of the journey instead of just doing what it is God told me to do. I am quite honestly, just to be transparent, walking through that in a couple of different places in my life right now where I'm dealing with some things and having to move forward with some things God told me to do. And I don't know how the end is going to turn out. I honestly don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what the end result will be. But that's not my job to know that at the beginning. My job is to trust my Heavenly Father who has all the answers already and so move forward. And that's what he calls all of us to do as kingdom writers as well. The next thing we need to do, and this is a big one, is to limit the number of voices we listen to. Limit the number of voices we listen to. That is so important for us, not only as writers, but as children of God in general, as people in general. It is so important for us to not listen to anybody and everybody who comes across our feed. Okay. We are inundated with, again, I said this earlier, we are inundated with so much information, so many ideas, so many opinions, so many different resources at our fingertips, and all of it is easily accessible to us. We don't even have to try that hard. You can get on whatever social media app you have and you like to get on, and you are just bombarded with different voices and different opinions. And it is so easy, especially if we spend a lot of time listening to a lot of different resources and ideas. It is so easy for us to get overwhelmed. It is so easy for us to become paralyzed and fixed in place and unable to move forward. And so I have found in my life that when I have trouble making decisions, when I feel overwhelmed and just having a hard time choosing and deciding, many times I have to look at the voices I'm listening to. Many times I have to audit the voices I'm listening to and really ask myself, is this something I need to be listening to? Is this something I need to be taking in? Is this important knowledge for me to have? Is this necessary for my current assignment? And this has been a hard question that I've had to answer with the Lord in prayer, because I am a learner. I am a student. I love to learn. I love to study. I love to take in information. But one thing God has really been challenging me about in my personal life is that I don't need all the information just because I have access to it. I don't need to listen to all the things and absorb all of the information just because it's available to me. And that's not even to say that it is all bad. A lot of the information out there is good and is helpful, but it's not necessarily helpful to me and what God is calling me to do and what God is calling me to do right now. And so I want you to ask yourself that same question in your life today. Is the information you're taking in your daily life, whether it's through social media or podcasts or books or audiobooks, whatever your favorite medium is for learning different things, is that information helpful and necessary for the season that God has you in right now? Is it helpful for the current assignments that He has you doing right now? If it's not, you may want to ask yourself if it's really something you need to be consuming and absorbing. Because a lot of times when we're trying to make decisions, when we're trying to move forward in obedience to God, we can't even really hear Him clearly because there's so much interference. There's so many other voices that are clouding our minds, cluttering our thoughts, and competing for our attention, competing for our focus. And I am learning that focus is one of the most precious things we need to protect in this season. So important that you limit the number of voices that you're listening to and the type of voices that you're listening to. Are the people you're listening to really honoring God? And are they encouraging you to move forward in the assignment that He has for you? Really, really important for us to do that. Let's go into the comments here. All right. Tori says, that's so good. Even the amount of information can be overwhelming and lead to more procrastination. It is beneficial to follow one, which is why your upcoming workshops and toolbox for kingdom writers. Thank you so much for that, Tori. God bless you. And yes, it can lead to procrastination. So very true. And why it's so important for us to know which voices to listen to, which ones can have proven themselves to be trustworthy over time. So thank you so much for that encouragement as well. I appreciate it. All right. And then Ryan says today, needed this today. I was praying about how I feel like my pilot script was going nowhere. I felt stuck. Well, that is awesome, Ryan. I'm so glad to hear that that is helpful for you, that you are being encouraged. And yes, many times when we feel stuck, it can be because we're dealing with a lot of different things. We're thinking about a lot of different things. And so I'm so glad that this was helpful, and definitely hope that you are just continuing to be encouraged by the content on this channel. Thank you so much for commenting. So let's keep going in terms of how we can break out of decision fatigue. So we talked about focusing on obeying God. We talked about making sure we're limiting the number of voices that we're taking in and the information we're taking in, even in general. We want to avoid the trap of too much information. And then we also want to make sure that we make more decisions ahead of time during the writing process. Make more decisions ahead of time instead of in real time. Here's what I mean by that. I want to encourage you that when you are in a writing session, let's say you're having a great session, let's say you're sitting down to write and everything is going well, the ideas are coming, you're feeling creative, you're making a lot of progress, you've got momentum. We want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success the next time that you write as well. Many people will write and they'll finish a chapter or a scene or whatever it is that they're working on, and then they just shut down and they feel accomplished and they go on with their day. But then the next time you sit down to write, you're not sure how to move forward. And so I want to encourage you to and suggest to you really practically that as you get to the end of a writing session, go ahead and jot down a few notes about where you want to move forward and what you want to do next. What is the next scene that you're looking to describe? What is the next chapter you're looking to talk about? What is that next theme that you're wanting to explore? And just make a little note for yourself. It could be a couple sentences, even just a couple of phrases, but it will be something to jog your memory so that when you come back to that work in progress, you know how to pick up where you left off and you're not left wondering what to do next, right? Also, it's important that you do a lot of prep work in terms of brainstorming and preparing your ideas before you even start the drafting process. And so make sure that you're doing that work ahead of time to really set yourself up for success each time you sit down to write. When we do that, a little bit of extra work on the front end, it can make things so much easier and flow so much more smoothly on the back end once we are done with the writing and we're moving into the next phase of the writing process. So I really want to encourage you to do that, to set the specifics of what you want to write about and what it is that you're trying to do in that particular section, even before you sit down to write the next time you're writing. Really important for you to do that as well. And then lastly, when we want to avoid decision fatigue and we want to avoid analysis paralysis, one really helpful way to do that is to simplify the process by using a clear, repeatable system for writing. You want to use a clear, repeatable system with clear steps that is the same every time and that you know what to expect at every point in the writing process. That will give you so much more clarity so you don't have to wonder and think about what you're going to do every time you sit down to write. You don't have to wonder, okay, do I need to do drafting now? Do I still need to brainstorm? When do I start editing? What does it look like when I start editing? Do I draft and edit at the same time? You don't have to worry about any of that. You have a clear process that guides you through every step of the journey. And so I want to introduce to you a new resource that I am making available to you later on this summer called the Writer's Roadmap. And that's exactly what this resource does. It will guide you through the entire writing process, from idea to having a polished manuscript that is ready to publish. And so if you're wondering what the next step in the writing process is, if you're wondering what that next decision is for you, if you're looking to finish your book and move forward with it, the Writer's Roadmap might be the perfect resource for you. So I want to encourage you to click the link in the description below to get on the wait list so that you will be one of the first people to find out when I release this new product and make it available for you. Because again, it is going to guide you through every step of the process with clear, practical steps about what you need to do next. You don't need to guess. You don't have to wonder. I am right there guiding you through every part of the process and giving you strategies to help you walk through that successfully. So make sure you check that out. And if it is helpful for you, go ahead and sign up and get on the wait list today. So that is going to be helpful for you. And I pray that this live stream was helpful for you in general. that it gave you some really clear practical tips for how to recognize what decision fatigue is, how it kind of creeps into our lives and into our minds a little bit, and some practical steps for what we can do about it. Once again, my name is Lisa. This has been Live with Lisa, and I will see you next week, same time, same place, right here on Instagram, YouTube, and the Our Given Purpose Facebook page. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're watching me live or on the replay. I'm glad that you're here, and I will see you same time next week. Until next time, take care, God bless, and happy writing, y'all.